How you all doing? Hope you're keeping safe out there. Well, it's been an interesting few weeks, hasn't it? Yeah, that Galactus HasLab project, that definitely got funded, didn't it? I mean, they wanted 14,000 and I think it was over 17,000 people buying them, so that's a lot of sales. But to be fair though, look at the thing, it's a damn beautiful figure. It's huge, it's great, it comes with a lot of, well, now it does, it comes with a lot of great accessories. You get like 3 alternate, no, Galactus' head, zombie or dead Galactus head, the Doctor Doom one from Marvel 2-in-1, which is actually a good comic book. I'd actually like that one. And he also comes with 3 of his heralds, a redo of the Silver Surfer, the Walgreens version, now cast in a silver plastic with a different head. Thank you, Ray Nova, really cool. I'm kind of disappointed they didn't give us an extra head forward to turn her into Aunt May as the golden oldie. That would have been a nice little tidbit, a nice little extra thing to throw in. And we also got Morg, his other herald from like, I think the 90s, very 90s-esque, but yeah, it's kind of cool to get. And yeah, even I put down 400 quid to order mine. And I'm really happy I did. I mean, like the Sentinels, which was last year's project, they've started to ship now. They look really good. And yeah, it's got me really hyped for next year when Galactus gets shipped. But it has got me thinking, you know, well, okay, that's this year done with. What about next year? And so, as I'm often want to do, I've decided to do a list of ideas I have for HasLab Marvel Legends Project 2022. And I've got some pretty decent ideas. I kind of think you'll like them. Okay, up first is got to be, like, I think one of the most obvious ones. It's got to be Giant Man. More specifically, Giant Man and the Wasp in their classic costumes. Because I mean, like, this Galactus figure is 32 inches tall. That's a big figure. But he's also full of lights and electronics and stuff like that. And a Giant Man figure wouldn't need all that. You just need to be tall. And we've had big Giant Man figures before. We had a whole Giant Man wave years ago, which was, okay. It was basically just like a giant it's an upscaling of the Marvel Legends basic male book we had back then. It was alright, it's a nice costume. It looked good for the time, but yeah, it could really do with another one because it was really expensive. You needed like 10 or 12 figures to make it, including like variants of characters. It was hard to get, it's really expensive now, and it's the kind of thing I'd like to see a HasLab project. Giant Man, it did go really well. But of course, what's a HasLab project without stretch goals? And I only think Giant Man has a couple of good ones you could do. Like, for instance, release him with an Ant-Man figure as a stretch goal. Yeah, the classic Ant-Man design. That looked really good. And I know, like, recently last couple of years, they did a retro/vintage one. But that thing's on, like, the Pizza Spidey book, and it looks way too lanky and skinny, and it doesn't really work. But I do have an idea. Recently, we've had revealed the sort of like retro wave Mr. Fantastic for the Fantastic Four wave. That's a really good body. It's ostensibly the same as the leader figure and the other, the Walgreens Mr. Fantastic. So it looks like a relatively fit man in not too tight clothing. And it actually worked really well for Ant-Man. I think all you need to do is like just take that basic figure, repaint him as Ant-Man, stick an Ant-Man helmet on him. And you can even keep like the figure has a removable lab coat and interchangeable arms. Keep that so you can have Hank Pym wearing a lab coat. That'd be a great little stretch goal. And of course, the one thing it really does need to come with is the Wasp. More specifically, a classic Wasp in that great black and red costume. This would be great as a little packing figure. And we know they can do it because we've had loads of Wasp figures or Wasp-esque figures recently. We've had like vintage Wasp, sort of modernish Wasp, the gold and black. We've had Stinger, we've had movie versions of the Wasp, we've had the Beetle, the Janice Lincoln version. Between them lots, you've pretty much shown that they can do a Wasp figure really well, and it'd be really cool to have one. But what are stretch goals if not a little bit weird? Like Galactus coming with the dead Galactus head and the Doctor Doom head. It kind of shows you can do some real good things with changing a character just by giving him a different head sculpt. So how about Marvel Zombies? Like the Marvel Zombie, or the What If series Zombie Captain America came out recently. That's really great and gruesome, and that's selling really well and getting a lot of praise. Well, Giant Man was in the original Marvel Zombies, and he was an important part of it, and really all you need is a different head, and it would look really cool. You could put it alongside your zombie Captain America. Not only that, but, the Wasp was in there too. The Wasp was an important character in that, and she was also a severed head at one point on a Jocasta body, which is something you could do quite easily if Hasbro packed in a zombie or a Wasp head in with the set. That would look really cool, and yeah, that's something I actually really like on my display, and maybe like a gateway to more zombie Marvel Legends, because let's face it, we'd all buy them. Okay, so another idea I had to go along with to go along with both Galactus and the upcoming Fantastic Four retro wave. What about the Fantasticar? It's a vehicle kind of in line with like some of the Star Wars HasLab projects, like Jabba's ship, or the one from The Mandalorian. It'd be a fair-sized vehicle, big enough to fit all four of the Fantastic Four in, but also it's a nice, cool design, and because it's had loads of different versions over the years, the designers could really combine different designs to make something that's really interesting and kind of unique, but at the same time very classic. And there have been toys of the Fantasticar before, like those movie versions back in the Sony days, but there's also a really cool looking version for the old Fantastic Four, the 90s cartoon. And if you're going to do like the Fantastic Four the retro wave in that 90s style packaging, well, this packaging for this Fantasticar would look really good, updated for a modern version. I mean, it's a really nice looking toy. It's even one that's worth, I think, if you can get it nowadays, it's worth tracking down, because it's really, really good looking. Oh, and speaking of vehicles, my next choice, it's got to be the Blackbird from X-Men. I mean, that's an iconic vehicle in the Marvel Universe, and the Blackbird looks cool as well. I mean, it's a stealth fighter, but sort of like a supersonic stealth-esque jet. I'm not good with military vehicles, but all I do know is this thing does look great. The vehicle's appeared in so many different franchises just because it just looks so cool. And I mean, they've got the licensing, I'm pretty sure, to make it, because they did it with the X-Men the X-Men crossover, the Transformers, was the Blackbird turned into a Transformer, and that's just how iconic it is to the X-Men. And yeah, it'd be a very large figure. I mean, you're probably looking like, if Galactus was say 400, it was 400. This might be like, say, a 600-pound vehicle. But if they did it right, I think it'd really be worth it. Because I mean, I had years ago the old 90s X-Men toy series Blackbird. It's a car boot self-find. Loads of parts are missing, but I managed to find a lot more over the years. And that was a really great playset. And yeah, again, classic packaging ripe for a modern version in the retro wave. I think it looked really, really good. Yeah, I mean, X-Men sells. X-Men always sells, especially the 90s Jim Lee era. That would get backed within seconds, I think. People would flood. I mean, look how quickly the Sentinel was backed, and how many people bought multiples of them. How cool would it be to have Sentinels grabbing their Blackbird out of the sky on your display? I mean, you can't tell me you could resist that. Here's a bit of an odd choice, I think, but one I also really like. The Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider with his Hell Charger, the flaming muscle car. I mean, just from a design point of view, or from an aesthetic point of view, should I say, the Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider looks amazing. The jet blacks, the white, the chrome, the orange flames. It just looks cool. It's cool in the same way the classic Ghost Rider on a motorbike was cool, but at the same time there's something far more primal and gritty about it I really, really like. And a 12-inch scale, or 1/12 scale, should I say, muscle car, I reckon with all the flame effects and all that lot, and being able to put figures into it, you'd probably do a, say, £250 HasLab project, something a bit cheaper, so like people haven't got to pay £400 every year. Do like a £400 one, then maybe a smaller one, then maybe the year after a more expensive one, just so people haven't got to constantly put a massive wodge of money out to get something they really want. And yeah, come on, let's face it, it's a really cool looking design. And speaking of cool, the Ghost Rider himself looks amazing. As a stretch goal figure, having the Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider with loads of flame effects and loads of large flaming chains and different flame effects to go around the vehicle to make it look like it's, I don't know, add in the like Back to the Future-esque flaming tyre marks behind it, large chains, different flaming heads, maybe a light up feature within the 6-inch figure. Something like that Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider design, the Ghost Rider himself, is minimalist, really, apart from the head sculpt, which is beautiful. It'd be really, not easy as such, but it'd be a nice striking figure, I think, on display. Yeah. Oh, okay, and this is the final idea I had for the moment, which is the one I really hope they do. This is my personal favourite. From Toei's 1971 series Spider-Man, or Spider-Man, as he's also known. First of all, this series is amazing. It's a great series, made in 1971 when Marvel decided to sell the TV rights in Japan for Spider-Man to Toei. The same people who made Kamen Rider and Super Sentai, or Master Rider and Power Rangers, as people in the West would know them. And they made a Spider-Man series with that aesthetic and that sensibility, and it was bloody brilliant. If you want to know more about it, it's actually a great documentary about it on Disney Plus and their 616 series, just called Japanese Spider-Man. I really recommend checking it out. It's a great series. Well, a great documentary about a great series. But within that series, there was a great Toei or tokusatsu, which is sort of the genre of the heroes in suits, should I say, tokusatsu. A great staple of tokusatsu series is the large vehicles and mechas, and Spider-Man had one. He had the Marveler, a massive, well, spaceship. In that series, Spider-Man got his powers from an alien race of spider people. Trust me, I know it sounds weird, but watch the show, it's actually cool. And the Marveler was a massive, well, spaceship. And I understand you couldn't get it, like, really to the scale it should be in the show, because it would have been like, oh, I'd probably say if you would compare it up to the 1/12 scale, it might be about 6 foot tall, if not taller. You know, have it be still a large and imposing figure, kind of like Galactus. The Galactus HasLab figure isn't really as big as Galactus would be if you were to do him properly from the comic books, but he's big enough that it works. But yeah, the Marveler looks great, and as I say, this is a tokusatsu show, and there's one thing tokusatsu shows do with their giant robots, and I'll get to that in a second. Trust me, it's worth it. Well, actually no, sorry, it transforms from Marveler into Leopardon, or Lepidon, or I say Leopardon. I've also heard it called Lepidon. It's a weird spelling, but it's a Spider-Man Megazord. What's not to love about that? And it looks really goddamn cool. And more important, I think, for HasLab project, it's got loads of opportunities to well, add stretch goals and extras. Because as you can see in this, like, technical drawing, I say technical drawing, it's like promotional drawing for magazines at the time. Spider-Man had a little car that came with it. Well, Spider-Man drove a little car that connected with it to control it. Have a small version of that. That'd be really cool. Actually, you'd have like a 1/12 scale version of that. You might be able to stretch that in. Actually, no, that'd be a nice little HasLab project on its own. But yeah, have his web shield to be one stretch goal. Have his have like effect parts be another. Have his great weapon, the sword vigor, as actually no. So let me phrase that. Have his great weapon, the sword vigor, be one stretch goal, because that's really damn cool. Like I say, if you like Power Rangers, you've got to love this Spider-Man show. Spider-Man with a Megazord and a Power Sword. What's not to love? And as I say, that vehicle he comes with, or the vehicle he had in the show, was pure camp 1970s Japanese goodness, and it was really silly. But I also kind of like it as well, because it is so silly. It's kind of like the car from, what was that show called? Speed Racer. That was it. It's really cool. And even like this Spider-Man from the show, having him as a figure, as like a stretch goal figure, would be really nice, and it would be really easy to do, because basically all you have to do is take the retro / classic, the retro / vintage wave Spider-Man body, because it's bulky enough, it's built up enough. Just put the spider bracelet on his left wrist. That's the one. You wouldn't even have to really repaint or give him a new head, because the one with the much smaller eyes would work really well. Repaint the suit a little bit to give him that more large chest spider, and you'd have a really great Toei Spider-Man as a stretch goal. And yeah, having Leopard on as a HasLab figure along the same sort of price range as Galactus or even Unicorn from the Transformers HasLab projects, because I suppose in this sense he would be a large Transformer, so you probably get the same engineering team to work on him, because like there are versions of this guy already in smaller toy scales, like the Solar Chogokin line, which transforms and has great articulation. So it's the engineering does exist. It's not without the realms of possibility. So yeah. So anyway, like I said, those are just some of the ideas I had for projects we might get next year from Hasbro. And if you like this video, or if you've got any ideas of your own, please leave a like below, leave a comment, and yeah. So that's it, folks. Until next time, I want you to stay safe, stay sane, and keep on rolling. And I'll see you all next time. Ta-da!